In earlier videos, we've talked about why fact-driven talent decisions are better than those which are based on intuition. We pointed out that decisions based on facts tend to produce better decisions than do decisions based on intuition, so the right people are more likely to be hired, rewarded, and promoted. A side effect is that since facts need to be made specific to be useful, a quantitative approach is one of the natural results of taking a fact-driven approach. This quantitative orientation can be very useful in aspects of talent management beyond just the talent decisions. In this video, we will show you a sample report that allows the larger organization to understand what the recruiting function did for the past period of time. This not only toots recruiting's horn a little bit, but it also identifies areas of needed improvement. Lastly, reports like this set the organization's expectations about what they will get from the recruiting function, so recruiting can start to seem orderly and predictable. So, here's a sample report. 11 openings, 11 hires. Good. Were jobs filled on time? 63%. 7 of 11 were. We explored the operational impact and why the 4 were late. We were hoping to have the new person on the job the day the work needed to be done. How late were we? Not very on 2, quite a lot on 2. Because of the big difference in these values, the average of 15.3 days is not very meaningful. That's why we looked at the why instead. The 2 jobs that were just a little late were caused to be late by recruiter errors. The 2 long delays had to do with management behavior. First, we learned from this that the recruiter cannot control the managers. Hiring managers are not experts in recruiting and need to be guided if the recruiter has the expertise and skills to do it. The recruiter may be able to develop in a way that will give them more influence over managers. Recruiters often live in a servant mindset rather than seeing themselves as experts. Some can be trained to see themselves as experts if they really are experts. This is particularly hard, though, when the recruiter is more junior in rank than is the hiring manager or is a new recruiter. If new, the recruiter does not have the expertise to position themselves as an expert, so that recruiter will potentially be buffeted by the winds of managerial dysfunction and not be able to do much about it. If the recruiter is seasoned, but less senior than the hiring manager, the problem is difficult but can be solved through charm and gentle persuasion. Our chart also tells us that one hiring manager changed the requirements again and again throughout the search. This means that the recruiter started, in effect, another different search each time the requirements changed. No wonder it was late. The other hiring manager was slow to respond, probably complaining about how busy he or she was. Once again, the most proficient recruiters can get through this obstacle. It is important that they do, because they, not the manager, will probably be blamed for the search being done too slowly. To win this battle, the recruiter needs gravitas sufficient to help the hiring manager reorder his or her priorities. Our experience is that senior people make better recruiters than more junior people, and this is one example of why. Cost per hire. We want to show our managerial audience how much the new hires cost them to acquire. Our cost per hire graph shows that the relationship of what we paid to acquire these 11 people to, first of all, the total aggregate salary. 11% is a number to be proud of. The graph also allows the reader to see that our cost per hire is less than half of what contingency employment agencies cost and almost a quarter of what executive search firms cost. We show visually how little the cost is compared to the total salaries and even how little it is compared to the other 2. Cost is very important in every other part of the organization, and showing your management that it's important to HR too will help how recruiting is seen by others. But a good cost is only valuable if the quality of the new hires is also good. We see in this part of the report that some work can be done regarding the quality of employees. Fully a third are reported by our imaginary performance management process as being subpar performers. We need to know why. How did this happen? We can see that the hires are spread throughout the organization, but on further exploration, you may remember when we visited this scenario in an earlier video, we determined that most of the low performers had come through one recruiter. We found that our recruiter was allowing too great a breadth of candidates in, and some hiring managers were attracted to the less qualified candidates who turned out to be less proficient employees. So we have two problems. First, the recruiter is not screening out all the folks who would turn out to be low performers, and second of all, the hiring manager were hiring some of the worst. Our choice with the managers is to train them to pick employees better, or present them with only candidates who will become good employees and let them hire from that pool anyone they want. I would pick both, but expecting the second choice to have a bigger payoff. And so, in this hypothetical company, we attempted to remediate the recruiter selection issues, which were rooted in his using too few sources, and thus not getting enough quality candidates. We, in our imaginary scenario, found it was not possible, and then let him go, and hired a replacement who could actually tell good candidates from bad ones and was willing to put the effort into finding them. We did give the hiring manager some training, but it was short, inexpensive, and we had very low expectations for it. It does not matter that the training was only marginally effective, because we from now on will only show the hiring managers candidates who will be successful. Ultimately, hiring managers are going to need to learn to assess people correctly, but this is not our problem today. All of this reporting grows out of our quantitative mandate to count things. Recruiters complained endlessly about having to document their work, partly because they are primarily feeling individuals, not linear souls, but also because other organizations have not asked them to count, record, and be held responsible for their results. Daniel Kahneman had this same sort of problem when he changed the new recruitment assessment procedures in the Israeli army. His recruiters rebelled. The only answer was smart and sensitive but determined managerial resolve to bring facts to how talent management is done. Thank you very much. I hope I've given you a glimpse into some techniques you can use to quantify your recruiting and other talent-related data, and how you can use those data to tell your story internally, hopefully demonstrating your recruiting's value to your organization. I'm John Wentworth. Feel free to call or write if you'd like to chat. I love talking about this stuff. Thanks again.